Santa Claus Christianity. That's the one. It is the Zionist Jew and the Zionist Christian who have come together in a Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance and who have hijacked Dajjal's modern Western civilization, and they control the US Congress, they control the British Parliament, they control the French Parliament, they control the armed forces, they control the police. So when a police inspector dies while investigating Charlie Hebdo, oh, it was a suicide. They control. We are prohibited from being friends and allies of these people. And if we enter into their embrace, we're now one of them. We've lost our Islam. So would you kindly put on your thinking caps now? If they create the United Nations organization, don't tell me you don't know that they created it. And we join the UN. What is the implication? If they create the International Monetary Fund with a bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram paper money, and don't challenge me on that subject. Don't challenge me, because I have done my homework. I've studied. They don't teach this subject in Darul Uloom. So poor Mufti, I feel sad for him. If they bring into being a bogus monetary system based on paper and plastic and electronic money, in place of money which is in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and which Russia has to now take if Russia is to save itself. The Russian ruble will have to be backed by gold, otherwise Russia is going down the drain. The Greek, what is it called, the Greek money? Dacha? The Greek dacha? Drachma? The Greek drachma will have to be backed by gold. Otherwise the Greek money is going down the garbage bin. Gold and silver is in the Quran, dinar and dirham. And we abandon it. And we entered into the embrace, all of us, lock, stock and barrel, including all the Maulanas and all the Muftis and all the boxing gloves. So what is the implication? What is the implication of abandoning the Quran and the Sunnah and joining the Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance when they gave us this bogus, fraudulent and utterly haram monetary system? And don't you dare challenge me. I'm warning you, because I've studied my subject. The answer is وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you join them, become their friends and allies, enter into your embrace. You belong to them, not to us. So can we have alliance with such people? Now let us go. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Surely Allah does not provide guidance for a people who are wicked. Now let us leave this verse of the Quran and go to another one which is connected with this. They're all interconnected like the stars in the sky. Allah speaks again in Surah Al-Ma'idah. And this verse of the Quran is of such awesome relevance today. He says, لَتَجِدَنَّ. It is fi'al mudariya, it could be present, it could be future. But very clearly, what comes next in the verse indicates it is not that time, it is the future. Allah is speaking about a future event. لَتَجِدَنَّ. You will most certainly find in time to come. What? I wonder whether the people of Kashmir can tune into this lecture. The suffering people of Kashmir, whose women are being gang raped I wonder whether they could hear this lecture. لَتَجِدَنَّ أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ عَدَاوَةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الْيَهُودِ. You will most certainly find in time to come that those who will have amongst mankind the greatest hatred, the greatest enmity, the greatest hostility, biting hostility for you would be the Jews. It is only today that this has come to pass, not in the past. No. We lived in friendly relations with mutual respect with Jews for more than 1,000 years. We were the only people who protected the Jews, we Muslims, until the Zionist alliance came into being. And now we see the Jews emerging as the people with the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility, relentless and biting hostility for us. Oppression like the world has never seen before in Gaza, in the Holy Land. This is today fulfilled what the Quran is saying. But with the Jews there is another people. That's why I mentioned Kashmir. That's why I mention our women, our sisters, our daughters, our mothers being gang raped in Kashmir. And the newspapers won't publish it. The radio stations and the television stations hide it. وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. That in addition to the Jews, you will find another people. It's not just Jewish Israel. It's another people. It is Hindu India. And Allah is not speaking about all Jews. No, a schoolboy methodology. There will be Jews who are our brothers, Jews who stand up against oppression. So Allah is not speaking about all Jews. Be fair to the Quran. And so too Allah is not speaking about all Hindus. You might know a Hindu friend who is more honest than many Muslims that you know. You might know a Hindu businessman, and you much prefer to do business with him than many Muslims that you know, because the man is honest in his business dealings. So Allah is not speaking about all Hindus, not at all. So if you're a Hindu and you're listening to this lecture, please be patient to understand. Allah is speaking about two people who at a time to come will manifest the greatest hatred, the greatest enmity, the greatest hostility, an alliance of two hostile forces that will be the most hostile in all of mankind. The Jews and a people in overt shirk. And my ta'wil is the Quran is speaking about Jewish Israel and its supporters, and today's Hindu India and those who support the policies of Hindu India. This is the grand alliance. So BRICS, you better watch out. You know BRICS: Russia, China, Brazil, a country called South Africa, and India. So who is the odd man out here? The odd man out is India. At that time, let me repeat it again. At that time, when these are the people who show the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you, at that time, وَلَتَجِدَنَّ. It is as though we never read this verse of the Quran before. It is as though we're listening to it for the first time now. At that time, you will find أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. Let me repeat it one more time. At that time when these are the people with the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you, and you can see them building a strategic alliance, Israel and India, you will find that those who will have the greatest love and affection for you, who are closest to you, Muslims, in love and affection, the people who will be closest to you in love and affection would be a people who say, we are Christians. So which Christians would it be? Would it be Rome or would it be Santa Claus? Rome today no longer has Constantinople. Rome today no longer has the cathedral, the church, which was the heart of Rome, which had functioned as a cathedral. A cathedral is more than a church. A cathedral is the headquarters of all the churches, where the head priest would be, the cathedral. And in Constantinople there was the cathedral of all of Rome. They called it Hagia Sophia. And it had functioned as their supreme cathedral for how long? 1,000 years. So it is very curious to me. I find it mysterious. And I'm looking to see the footsteps of Dajjal behind it, because I like to be serious as a scholar. That an Ottoman Empire comes into being out of nowhere, mysteriously, like, ISIS, out of nowhere. And then this Ottoman Empire is encroaching upon Rome. Ottoman Empire has no time for Santa Claus Christianity. Ottoman Empire has friendly relations with that Christianity with which Allah has prohibited us from maintaining friendly ties. But Ottoman Empire is consistently targeting this Christianity, concerning which Allah says, when they were victorious, you Muslims will celebrate. So I find that mighty mysterious. And as a good student, you can't be a student of Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari and not have some capacity. So I'm looking for the footprints of Dajjal behind the Ottoman Empire. And then came the day when the Ottoman Empire took Constantinople. And when they took Constantinople, guess what they did? To the everlasting shame and everlasting disgrace of the Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And I choose my words with great care. To the everlasting shame and everlasting disgrace of the Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The Ottoman Empire took the greatest cathedral of Rome and sinfully transformed it into a masjid. But the fellas out there with their boxing gloves, they don't have time for this. No, they only have time for Deobandi, Brelvi, this, that or the other. Not only did they rob Rome of the capital city, the headquarters, and therefore plunge a dagger into the heart of Rome by taking Mecca of the Muslim world. Not only did they take the greatest cathedral of Rome, Hagia Sophia, and transformed it into a masjid, and thus plunge a dagger into the heart of Rome, which is still bleeding to this day. They did more than that. These Ottomans were really devils. Oh yes. But Turkey doesn't realize that. The Ottomans then took the Khilafah out of the Arab world. If you want to destroy and dismantle the Khilafah of Islam, you cannot do it without taking it out of the Arab world. And they took it out of the Arab world. And guess where they took it? They put it into the heart of Rome. And the Sultan now declared himself to be the Caesar of Rome, and you now have to give the khutbah for Salatul Jum'ah in all the territories of the Ottoman Empire, recognizing the Ottoman Sultan as the Caesar of Rome. Up to maybe 100 years ago we were doing it. And so this is very strange. When there's more to it, but I don't have the time to give it all to you. But there's a lecture of mine on the internet entitled The Conquest of Constantinople in Akhirul Zaman. Please listen to it. When they lost Constantinople, where did Rome go? You should ask the people of Rome. They should answer. You shouldn't answer. Is Rome a church or a religion? Do religions wage war? No. You have to be a state to wage war. So don't come and tell me the patriarch in Constantinople, he is Rome, because he doesn't have any tanks. He doesn't have any aircraft. He doesn't have an army. So Rome was the Byzantine Empire, which had a government, which had control over territory, a state. So Rome today has to be a state. Can't be a church. And by universal consent all around the Orthodox Christian world, Russia today is a new Rome. Russia rules, is leading the world of Rome. The Greek people are not too pleased about that, because the Greeks became Christians before the Russians. The Greeks are the ones who built the cathedral Hagia Sophia. And the Russians sent a delegation to check out the two Christianities. And they look at the Santa Claus Christianity. And then they came over to Constantinople. And once they saw Hagia Sophia, that was it. This is the building that brought Russia into Christianity. This building. So the Greeks say, but we were the first Christians, not them. So we should be the ruling power in Rome today. But no, it is Russia which is a nuclear power. It is Russia which has the power to stand up. And so Russia today is the head of Rome, whether you like it or whether you don't. Russia is the head of Rome. You will most certainly find that those who will be closest in love and affection for you, at that time when the Jews and the Hindus showed the greatest hatred, not all Jews and not all Hindus, if you're listening to this lecture on the radio, at that time you'll find a people who are Christians who will be the closest in love and affection for you. And we have eliminated Santa Claus Christianity. In answering the question, which Christians are these? Not only do we have the verse of Surah Rum to help us, because when they were victorious, we celebrated, but more than that. Allah goes on to say in the Quran, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمُ الْقِسِّسِينَ وَرُهْبَانَ وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. The reason why these Christians are going to be, I hope you're listening in Bosnia, I hope you're listening in Albania, I hope you're listening in Macedonia, are going to be those with the greatest, the closest in love and affection for you Muslims, would be because amongst them there is the institution of monasticism, Rahbaniya, the monastery and the monk. and the priesthood. Today, Santa Claus Christianity has abandoned monasticism. They don't have monasteries anymore. They don't believe in withdrawal. We call it etikaf. They call it monasticism. They don't believe in withdrawal from the worldly life to climb the spiritual ladder. They don't have that concept at all. They want you to leave the countryside and come to the city. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be immersed in the dunya. Whereas this Christianity wants you to withdraw in monasticism. It is Orthodox Christianity today which is preserving the institution of monasticism. What the Jews did in Russia was to seek to stab Russia in the back in 1917 with the Bolshevik Revolution. It was it was a Jewish revolution. And then from the Bolshevik Revolution came communism, godless communism, atheistic communism, and the Soviet Union. And they proceeded for the next 70 to 80 years to seek to destroy the spiritual heart of Russia. Destroy Orthodox Christianity. Is that the azan? Allahumma jalla jalla. The Soviet Union for 60 to 70 years did everything they could do to destroy Orthodox Christianity, to destroy Rome, because the Soviet Union was a plant, a Zionist plant, acting on behalf of them, acting on behalf of the Jah. But they don't teach this at university. But Russia is now returning to Rome. Russia is recovering its spiritual heart. The heart of that Christianity in the Vatican is a barbarian heart. But the heart of Russia is spiritual. In that Christianity today, a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate, but not in Russia. When will Muslims open their eyes and begin to see what they should be looking at? If you don't read history, history is going to leave you behind and go. And so, if you want to recognize those Christians who at that time will be closest in love and affection for you, look to the institution of monasticism, the monastery and the monk. See where it is. It's not in Western Christianity, it is in Orthodox Christianity today. But something else. The Quran doesn't stop there. It goes on to say something else about the Christians who will be closest in love and affection for you. It says, وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. They are not an arrogant people. And I say it's arrogance that you want to transform the whole of the rest of the world into carbon copies of yourself. You know how we Muslims have to dress. Of course you know it. Of course you remember, don't you, that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, did he not say it? That when the women go down in sajda, they must remain in sajda longer than the men. Of course you know that, don't you? Shake your head and tell me. You heard it, don't you? No, you never heard it. Nobody ever told you? Strange, isn't it? It's there, Sahih Muslim, go and check it out. That when the women go down in sajda, they must remain in sajda longer than the men. I'm talking about the Islam that came from a man named Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm not talking about the bogus ones that are now parading in the streets. This one that came from Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. This one is speaking. And it says, when the women go down in sajda, they must remain in sajda longer than the men. Why? Because some of the men may not have enough cloth to cover themselves. Which cloth is he talking about? And if a woman were to raise her head too soon, it would be an improper sight. Is he saying that men would be naked? Not possible. Not even a pagan Arab would go like that to pray. That when he goes down in Sijda, he's naked? No. No. Men had two garments, a lower one and an upper one. And we know how the lower one was cut because you didn't have Toyota Camrys in those days. You had to go on a camel and on a horse. So the lower garment had to be cut in such a way you could put your foot over the camel, like the Pakistani shalwar, or trousers. So we had on the lower garment. So what is the prophet talking about? When he says some of the men may not have enough cloth to cover themselves properly, he's not talking about the lower garment. He's talking about the upper garment. That when you go down in Sijda, you can't go down with a blue jeans with your shirt tucked inside your trousers. You can't go down in Sijda with the clothes that you go to work with. You need your trousers with your shirt tucked inside? No. You have to have an upper garment, which when you go down in Sijda, it would fall to cover you, the behind. That is what he's talking about. But if you put on such clothes today, you can't get a job. No. When you go to a meeting, a business meeting, they'll laugh at you. No. This is the modern age. You got to dress like us. You got to wear a jacket and a tie